The Bears are what we thought they were. They're what we thought they were. The Bears are who we thought they were. But they are who we thought they were.
Folks, another amazing episode of Big Boy Pants Golf. We got some news that is fast breaking right now related to a document dump on Twitter from Desert Duffer LLG. The LLG stands for Live, Laugh, Golf. And they are also a podcast. Highly recommend them. Today, we've got Golf Lover UK on. And we're going to go through probably the most incriminating of these documents. It's related to Jay Monahan's remarks at the town hall meeting at the Travelers Championship from June 21st, 2022. And it concludes with, and you're going to love this. So when you ask, what can I do? I have two ideas. First, do what I did. Tell the Saudis to go fuck themselves and mean it. Second, tell the world over and over, any chance you get, that you are sticking with the tour because you are part of something bigger than yourself, that you are the PGA Tour and the PGA Tour is you, that it's damn good and it's worth fighting for. And these are the notes that Jay Monahan and co. had written up for Tiger to present. Golf Lover UK.
I'm just amazed. Like, I didn't know if what you're talking about was real because I've not seen anyone else in the media cover this. You'd have thought such a huge document that might have been covered by members of the golf media, but there seems to be utter silence. A bit like with the Adam Scott comments. I'm firstly just going to say I'm unable to comprehend how, again, not all of golf media, but the vast majority of golf media are just choosing to ignore this, to not report on it, to not talk about it. Because we know if it was the other way round and there was a live document that came out there, Greg said to do this or Greg said to do that, the NLU and the other patsies would all be jumping on it and giving it some. And they'd be saying this, that, and the other. How do you square that away, big boy? How do you square that away, the fact that no one's talking about it?
For me, on some level, I feel like a lot of them have egg on their face, and this just further hurts their reputation. So instead of covering this type of information, they just ignore it. This is going to turn out to be a lot like these other informations that, I don't know, like a laptop from Hunter Biden, for example, that it's there out there in public view. And then the first step is for the media to discredit it as if saying, we don't know if this is actually a real document.
I don't understand if you use the word golf journalist or golf media or golf reporter or anything in your bio, how you can look yourself in the mirror and genuinely take yourself seriously if you're not talking about this. So let's talk about it. Let's be serious about it. With documents like that out there, and that's what we've seen, can you imagine what we've not seen? Can you imagine the emails and the comments and the notes that we've not seen? They've talked about collusion, they talked about the court case, they talked about everything else. Now, if that is the script and the points that Tiger's meant to be talking about and others were meant to be talking about, and that's the line they're trying to toe, the word collusion isn't far from this. And it just makes this whole merger. You and I said it privately on Twitter to ourselves in a message, maybe 2.5 weeks ago, that part of us thought maybe this merger wouldn't go through. The more I hear things like this, the more I think it won't happen. Or not in the same way we're being told it's going to happen. Do you know what I mean? It might, but there'll be a different thing.
Well, how would you trust, if you were the Saudis, trust the PGA Tour side if they tried to have Tiger Woods say, tell the Saudis to go fuck themselves?
Oh, no. I think that, now I've heard various stories. I heard one that Jay had a heart attack, and if he did, Jay Monahan, not our Jay, I heard that Jay Monahan had a heart attack, and if that's true, it's exceptionally sad, and I hope he gets better soon. I don't want anyone to have ill health. And if he has been ill, and on the off chance his rabbit ears are picking this up, then I hope you get better soon. I think what's more likely is that he ran away, claimed stress, because he wanted to get away from it all. And if that's the case, then that's the case. I think he shouldn't come back. I think that there is no way if I'm Yazir or I'm in charge of PIF or that I'm having anything to do with such an odious liar. And as Adam Scott and the others have pointed out, and Ricky and Will Zalatoris, and it's all coming out to the fore. And Keith Mitchell also shared it since we spoke the other day, and someone else did as well. Charlie Hoffman. It's been very clear there's a lot of distrust. And I think it's been very clear there's a lot of distrust from the PGA Tour players and the PGA, and it's on the PIF with listening to PGA. I think there's a lot of distrust there. And this document dump goes to prove one thing. If at any time we thought Jay was trying to do the right thing, he was so anti-Saudi Arabia and so anti-PIF, as the documents prove that he was writing script, or the PGA Tour, of which he is the CEO, so therefore by that extension he, without players meeting the Travellers, were writing scripts, writing this, that and the other for other people to follow up on, to then turn around and stab them in the back. I'll ask you this question, big boy. How would you feel if you were a player who had been in a meeting, a special meeting, and you'd been pitched at by Jay about why you shouldn't leave and this, that and the other, and all these speeches being made? How would you feel having been stabbed in the back by him, and then just the very last moment now, the last 7 hours, this salt is rubbed in your wound?
Seeing how this has all gone down and this information coming out, I would have to immediately demand for Jay Monahan's removal. But oddly, I would have demanded his removal much earlier, probably on June 6th, when they decided the merger was going to happen, because everything at that point turned out to be a lie, specifically to benefit who? To benefit Jay Monahan. It wasn't for the players, even though this article also says, or this information says, that Tiger was supposed to say, but because he cares deeply about every one of us in the room and beyond. And also, as you pointed out, Jay Monahan's on medical condition, but Tiger was supposed to say, he's the right guy for this war. He's a fighter. So you can also see through this that the whole time they tried to set up Liv as an enemy, an adversary. And that's why it's even more interesting and insane, actually, that now they're trying to have this alliance between these two tours, even though they've been at war for over a year and a half, mostly with shots fired from the PGA Tour towards Liv.
Well, let's elaborate on that. That the dump and the letters, and there were also, let's not forget the other that we're talking now about this dump from Travellers. What about the dump about the proposed EGT, the European Golf, whatever that was? The other one where we talked about we saw that one from the proposed merger and the takeover and all the other things we've seen in the last 6-7 hours, where they talk triumphantly about how they'd fended off Liv, and now let's look at what we can do, and they're going to put this money in and that money in, but not all of it went in. And Jay Monahan's got a history of promising, making you believe, and then stabbing you in the back. He did it to the DP World Tour. He's now done it to these players. He's not fit for the role. I'll tell you who is fit for a role. Is Yasir and Greg Norman, who met with all of their teams, as reported by our good friend Flushing It and others, and all shared their information over the last couple of days. And sorry to not name check everybody, that the heads of Liv Golf met with all the players and explained to them, we're going nowhere. When this merger happens, we're going nowhere. So the thing that makes you see is that not only is the PGA Tour floundering, and when I say PGA Tour, I don't mean the events, I don't mean the players, I don't necessarily mean the tour itself. I mean its leadership is floundering. But Liv are doubling down, reassuring people. We saw that yesterday, the Majestics announced another partnership. We've seen multi-year deals now done on courses. So what we're actually seeing, and we also saw them announce last week, we saw Liv announce the relegation tables and exactly how promotion relegation is going to work, how the qualification criteria is going to come for the bottom 4 place in the playoff, what's going to happen with other people coming in from other tours. The Liv is talking, and we said before we pressed record, about how you and I talk about things in life. They're walking forward. they're moving forward, they're using actions, and they're making decisions. What they're not doing is spending hours trying to make people convinced they're in charge. They're simply saying, hey, we're here. We've got a great product. We're going to keep moving forward. And those documents and that dump of those documents makes me feel nothing but yet more sure that Jay Monahan and the PGA Tour leadership are completely and utterly ineffectual.
Well, it's odd that that the PGA Tour side thought that they would keep this under wraps, especially now that you have all these discontent players who feel betrayed. One of the lines here is Tiger Woods being encouraged to stick it to Greg Norman like Rory did in Canada. And it's also noted that JT has stepped up with his public comments as well. So you see that these things were all highly encouraged by the PGA Tour leadership at the time. It wasn't natural of these players. So now you almost feel bad for maybe a guy like Billy Horschel, who was probably kind of cheered on the whole time. Hey, take the mic again, make yourself, take one for the team, knowing the whole time at any point you were willing to stab him in the back.
Yeah, they've been, you say it was, I use the word orchestrated. This feels very contrived, very orchestrated, and Jay's got people to stand up. And I know that Billy Ho gets a lot of grief for not making a cut since 2007, and I say that as a joke. Billy, if you're watching, I think you're a fantastic player. I love watching you play. I love your passion. I love the fact you get angry. You might be the only player to snap more 8 irons over your leg than I have. But I feel people like Billy have been used. They've been used. They were told JT's changed. JT was probably used. We know JT had a conversation. Let's not pretend these things that didn't happen. We know that most of them had conversations. And you and I both know, and Desert Duff, a great podcast, by the way, one of the few golf podcasts I still listen to, having been an avid NLU listener back in the day when they went full PGA Tour and started becoming bullies about Bryson and everything else. They were done with it. It didn't also help when they slagged me off on their channel and then didn't give me a right to reply. That was a little bit weak. Still never been given a chance to reply. They used their chance, but there we go. It's what wimps and cowards do, isn't it? But more importantly, what we're finding is that with the way this is all going to work, that these players are going to admit they're used, and Desert Duff has got this information or has shared that information. I have no doubt in my mind that's a player that's released it. Zero doubt for a second a player's released it. They've either taken photos of it because it was left on the side, or they've taken a copy because it's left on the side, and now they've shared it. These players are pissed off. If what we are led to believe that, and again, as someone who was criticised for sharing the names of players when I got one wrong ever, which one out of about 20. If what we're led to believe, Cantlay was offered best part of 120 million first up, didn't take it. Will Zalatoris was offered 100 million. Shane Lowry was offered 60 million. Billy Horschel was offered 35 million and went back for more. These are the things that we've heard. And again, that's all hearsay, but there's a weight of opinion that leads us to believe that those numbers and those people are about right. These people have been talked out of millions and millions and millions of pounds, life-changing, family generational cash. For Jay to write those documents which you're looking at now and reading out and will have shown on the screen, and Jay's done that to them, this will not be the last document that comes out. This will not be the last comment that comes out. Adam Scott might be the most gentle, kind, nice person on tour. We joke about things like that. And he's come out, for him, guns blaring. We will hear more of this. What do you think will happen with this? Do you think we're going to get much more of it? How do you think that will go down?
I think this is just the tip of the iceberg. And as you pointed out, in terms of the monetary aspect, there's a line here that says, but if we refuse to go anywhere, no matter how much dirty money they throw our way, that's our silver bullet. That dirty money line is now the money they want, right? That's the money that's going to fund them. So you've gone out of your way on every level to smear the Saudis in terms of their money, in terms of the, in terms of using Eamon Lynch and dismemberment clauses and You've gone out of your way to basically disparage them on every level, and now you still think that they're going to be a partnership.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because you and I have both had this conversation, and we spoke about the money, we spoke about the dirty comments, and I did a show with you late May before the merger was announced, where I talked about the finances of the European tour, and I talked at length about how the Pro-Am money isn't going to be there for some of the smaller field events, all that type of stuff. We talked about finance, and I talked about the European tour and how much debt the European tour's in, and the fact the PGA Tour are going to have to pick up some of these bills. The PGA Tour have gone begging for this money. And anyone who's trying to convince themselves that the PGA Tour is in charge, I've said it before, and I get the same 10 or 15 accounts just writing, you don't know about company mergers, you don't know about boardrooms and voting rights. Well, sorry, but I do. If you're the chairman in a merger and you control the purse strings, you control the power. I don't care how many votes there are. They will vote as they are going to be told to with the merger. It's different if you set a company up, then you've got 7 board members, and you've all got equal money and equal share and equal whatever else. Hey, have at it. This isn't the same situation. The PGA Tour were going to go bankrupt because of the court fees. Even anti-Liv Faldo made it clear that they couldn't cope with those court fees. That was the situation. And they've gone begging for that money. Read that phrase again. What was it? Say silver bullets are dirty money. So everyone who's listening to this, remember, Jay and Jimmy have gone begging for the money. And this is what he said a year ago.
The exact quote is, no matter how much dirty money they throw our way, that's our silver bullet. And that silver bullet is going to come back and take down the now medical leave werewolf that is Jay Monahan.
Look, silver bullet medical leave. Oh, I like it. A werewolf. I love it. You got your werewolf vampire history going beautifully there. I couldn't agree. I couldn't try and point this out more to everyone that's listening. They've gone begging for the money, and they were calling it dirty money. The best thing that can happen is that Jay and a couple of the others resign. They walk away. The PGA Tour and the Players Committee and whoever else it might be elects a couple of new people that don't have this dirty money stone around their neck, and they all move forward together with the tour, and they work out how they're going to do it. That's the only thing I can see that can happen to do this properly. If they want proper equity, they want an equitable relationship, they want to work something out going forward.
Well, to me, an outstanding issue, and this is what I just heard from the latest Live, Laugh Golf podcast, is the concept that the PGA Tour acted like a university with the money rather than like a true member board run organization. So they got all this money stockpiled there to potentially help future generations of golfers, but that's meant for these guys now. So I think also we're going to start seeing financial information come out, and we're going to see that these guys pass, these Martin Slumbers from the head of the RNA, Seth Waugh, who's the head of the PGA, these guys who've had their Deutsche Bank pass and can move money around. Now we're going to see how much money is actually out there and how it was accounted for, and there's going to be a financial fallout.
I just don't understand how. Well, the only reason this hasn't moved on is because of Jay going on medical leave. The financial fallout, I honestly think a large reason about why they didn't want this to go to court was they didn't want the finances to be exposed. I'm not up with your legal system with the Senate. Are they going to have to expose all of their finances with this Senate hearing that's coming up? I'm assuming they will.
I believe there's a letter out that specifically details what documents and what information they want. And this is exactly what they didn't want to do, but now it's happening anyway. It just shows this very...
You call it disclosure, don't you? So we call it discovery, or do you call it discovery? I can't remember what you guys call it.
Discovery.
Yeah. So through the one thing they're trying to avoid besides legal fees was discovery. And it's going to come out. All the stuff that Jay did and all the stuff Jay said and the finances, all going to come out. It's going to be so incriminating.
Well, think about this. That's just like saying, whatever you do, don't look right here. Where do you think they're going to look?
They're going to look right there. There's nowhere else to look, is there? They're going to have to look right there. And I'm just thinking to myself, what does that look like for world golf? And I was with, we'll come on to it later. I know we're going to do a little bit about my trip to Scotland later. But I was with me and three friends went to Inverness. Again, I'll come on later. One watches no golf at all. One watches a bit of golf. And one watches mostly an hour or two a day on the sort of Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So what you call a regular golf watcher, but not a sit down, veg out, can of beer and watch it for 6 hours. And what they're all saying is that outside of the majors, they don't have a great deal of interest in watching golf. And the one guy said to me, he said, all this bitching has put me off. And I said, oh, right. He said, like, all I hear is people saying that LIV is an exhibition to no mark players. He said, I tune into the PGA Tour and you quite obviously miss the LIV players. He said, because the LIV players, he said, they've got all the personality. Now, I'm not saying for a second that the PGA Tour players don't have personality. That's not what I'm saying. But it's interesting when you talk to these people that they aren't watching any golf. So the fallout from all of this is actually, unless this is sorted quickly, I think golf might have a real issue in the next 12 to 18 months. And I think it needs to be sorted fast. These documents that have come out now, they do nothing for golf other than, in my hopes and prayers, they expedite getting this shit sorted. That's what I want them to do. These documents come out and someone just turns around, it might be Adam Scott, who knows, and he goes, listen, these documents are too much. Jay, stay away, resign, even give him a redundancy check, pay Jay off, give him £5 million, give him a year's salary. What was he, 9.5 million? Give him 9.5 million to go away, he's done. Because you need these people away from the game of golf as fast as you can for golf to recover. Because while those same people are at the helm, you're not going to sort it out.
Well, I think it's odd if it requires this kind of leaked document to get these guys on board with getting rid of Jay Monahan, considering that he had exploited the 9/11 families and had everyone, going after him, including Dave Portnoy, just calling him every name under the sun, as he deserved, to the point where Jay Monahan had to straight up admit he's a hypocrite. So oddly, that didn't trigger him having to resign. Any other person, any other situation, you're gone. But somehow he still managed to linger on.
Yeah.
And, even though he's claiming a medical leave right now, just remember for a good 8-10 months of the whole LIV PGA Tour back and forth, he was MIA as well. You never heard a peep from the guy. Everyone still was also like, where is Jay Monahan?
Yeah, I remember just thinking, why is he not talking? What's not happening? I'm just gonna put my lights on because I've got dark in here now, and I'm gonna put the lights on. I'm gonna be 2 seconds, otherwise you're literally not gonna see me. So bear with me. There we go. Yeah, so Jay Monahan went missing, and I don't understand where he went or how he went, but that was, as you say, middle of the season or when this was all going on. But how has he hung on? Now, I've met a few people in my time that are rubbish their job, but they've got this, I call them barnacles. They've got this barnacle skill where they can suck onto the bottom of a vessel and just stay there somehow until someone has to literally chip them off. So we could call him Barnacle Jay Monahan if we want, because he literally suckers himself to the bottom of a boat, and until you chisel him off, he's not going anywhere. And I think that is the case. And I read Peter Melanati's comments, and I don't know what Peter was trying to say. Have you read the Peter comments? At some points I couldn't tell whether he was annoyed with Jay Monahan or annoyed with LIV or annoyed with his co-players or supporting his players. I thought it was a little bit all over the shop. But that, for me, is symptomatic of the situation we found ourselves in, that members of the Players Committee are just annoyed and angry and maybe not able to vocalise what they want. What they want is for Monaghan to go, that leadership team to go, and a new leadership team to come in and see this merger through properly. Because frankly, if I'm Yazir, I want nothing to do with Jay Monaghan. I want him nowhere near my business. After that comment about dirty money, tell him to go fuck themselves, all these comments, I want him nowhere near anything I'm doing. And as we know, Yazir is told, we've seen the comments come out from the last few days, it's quite clearly said, we're going nowhere, Liv is my baby.
In terms of Liv being his baby, and as you pointed out that professional golf or the PGA Tour will be struggling over the next 12 to 18 months, I honestly, I view it similar to what the PGA Tour did to the now DP World Tour. There can only be one. There aren't enough big stars. Even if you're a big star like Patrick Cantlay, if your personality doesn't match, you really don't necessarily move the needle. So how are you going to have a lot of stars on Liv and then have this floundering PGA Tour with its new, apparently still designated events, which again, also remove all the tradition and legacy because you don't have the cuts like you did before. All those records of, Tigers making 300 cuts straight, they're all gone because it's not apples to apples anymore. It's apples to oranges, right? You also don't have the same size field. So now we can't even, the history's gone anyway.
It's like with the NFL. Like I've said this before, and I was to a Dallas Cowboys game. I'm a huge NFL fan. I can't take any of the new records seriously. You can't. You can't. The wide receivers never had more protection. Can you ever remember Chris Carter running across the middle? Like you get smashed. So all these wide receiver records getting broken, all these quarterback records getting broken. It's exactly the same with the golf records. The NFL is completely different now to where it was 25 years ago. I understand safety. I'm not a moron. Of course I understand it. But you've got more games. You can't rough the pass. Roughing the passer is completely changing the way it's administered. All the NFL stuff means that yards are easy to get now compared to what they were. Well, they've done the same with golf. Like all the old records, what do they mean anymore? Cuts don't mean anything. Now, I understand there's no cut in Liv. But that's Liv's thing. That's what Liv did from the start. The PGA Tour attacked Liv for not having a cut, and now they've simply removed their cut. I happen to think all three can exist. I think Liv can exist as a not 14. She don't need 14. I think Liv can exist as a 10 series event held throughout the year, being what was the WGCs. You have a series of players that make up teams, and then maybe you've got 60 players making up 12 teams, 48 are chosen, and they stay there all year based on rankings or whatever else, and the other 12 come in and play as and when, based on the new 12 get qualified based on whatever they've done. And then you can have the PGA Tour running and the DP World Tour running and all these type of things, and you've got to play a minimum amount of games on here and a minimum amount of games on there to make it work. I think they can all run. The problem is you can't run it with morons at the helm who are selfish and care only about themselves. And while you're operating two private jets and not giving a shit about your players and selling them and backstabbing them, you can't be the person running it. You also can't be the person running it if you don't want it to succeed. If what you want to succeed is to keep drawing a salary and to keep trying to be relevant and host your mates at the PGA the Players Championship, if that's what you want, then you can keep doing that. But if you truly want world golf to succeed, you need different people.
You definitely need different people because the people in charge obviously have brought it into this state of ruin, and they were only able to keep it this way because they had potentially a monopoly. Now that there's competition, which is a good thing, I think you're also still competing on some level for the fans because you're not necessarily going to watch both tours. I mean, some people will still like the PGA traditional stuff, but even that's gone now because it's going elevated designated events. So you also have the integrity issue with the PGA Tour now because all the fans who are siding with the PGA Tour in terms of loyalty and tradition are likely going to feel betrayed. Some of them are going to be turned off. Like, remember when the Major League Baseball had the steroid issues back in the 90s? Mm-hmm. You also, as a fan, you're like, okay, I'm not going to watch these guys anymore because they're all liars.
I was a big believer of just let them take what they want. Let's see how far we can hit the ball. Can we hit the ball to the moon?
I like the old Sammy Sosa. The new one, looks a lot different.
Yeah. I remember, what was the phrase? I wish they were still just juicing bats. Look, we're not here to discuss what could the tour look like in a long form conversation. But I've said it's really easy. Take the 4 majors out of it, leave them alone. Take the PGA, take the Players Championship out of it, leave it alone. It's got its own qualification criteria. For every marquee event you want to play, we know what they are, the Memorial, such and such, or whatever it is. For every marquee event you want to play, you've got to play one non-marquee event, either on the PGA Tour or on the European Tour. That's it. It's really, really, if you want to make it easy to sort, it's easy to sort. So if you want to play the Rolex Series on the European Tour, for every event you want to play on that, in the top 4 or 5, you've got to play a corresponding event somewhere else. So if you want to play on LIV, and it's a 10-event series, and you want to play 4 Rolex Series events, you've got to play 4 other DP World Tour events. That's how you boost the fields. That's how you get people to play. All of a sudden, you've got an 18 match season, 18 event season, plus the majors. But no one wants that conversation. But the document dump just proves to me that it's always been a contempt for fans, and it's always been a contempt for players. There's no care for the players. To write that document and also know you've got it in you to completely 180 it and then go and suck up and try and get the money, what sort of human writes that and tries to manipulate people like it? The manipulation is just disgusting.